9b, 7-8 lines from the bottom. Okay, kamatz b'smol. So we had the first big number told us that if you do kmitza with the left hand, it's invalid. Now, how do we know this? We know immediately. What's the source that the left-handed kmitza is going to be invalid? So we're going to talk a lot about. Okay, let's see first. 1 second. Sorry. So it says by the mincha that you should go and fill up your calf, your palm. Okay. So kaf zeh eini yodea mahu. Which palm is this talking about? Right or left? Kishu Omer, when it says in another area of Alaka Kakoin Meluga Shem and V'yitzak al Kaf Hakoin Hasmolis. So this, I believe, is talking about the Mitzorah. We're going to be talking a lot about the Mitzorah, the leper. The Mitzorah, there's a poor Mitzorah and a rich Mitzorah. It means that they bring different sacrifices. They have to bring at the end 3 sacrifices, a Chadas, Asham, and a Olah. And they also have this oil. There's a whole pouring of oil that happens to them. So, Kishu Omer, by a wealthier Mitzorah offering, so it says the Kohen takes the oil, pours on his left hand, and he's going to dip his finger from there and sprinkle it 7 times. So, well, what do you see? It says al kaf hakohen hasmolos on the palm, and then it says the left palm. Why does it specify that? Kan smolis, to teach you that over here he pours the oil on the left palm, but everywhere else where it just says palm is we're going to refer to the right palm. So kan smolis, but hakol makom shenamar kaf eino el yamin. It's referring to the right palm. Says the Gemara, I v'hami baile legufe. What do you mean? You need that verse just to teach you that you pour the oil on the left hand. It's not coming to teach you anything else. Says the Gemara, you're right. I have another left in that section. Smola achrina ksiv. So there's another time it mentions the left palm over there to teach you that over there it means the left, but everywhere else it means the right. It says the Gemara, maybe when you have 2 things coming to exclude, the general rule is it's coming to include. The aim ain miut achami el rabos. Usually when you have two exclusions, they come to include. So maybe that should happen over here. Says the Gemara, the 3rd time mentions of the left palm in that section. Smolis achrinikse. To teach you, kan smolis ve'ein achar smolis. To teach you over here, it means the left palm, but everywhere else where it says palm, it's referring to the right one. So says the Gemara, ve'ema adarabba, say the opposite. Makan smolis abba almanami smolis. Maybe no. Maybe that says smoke to teach you that every time it says palm, it's referring to the left palm. If that's why it specifies it over here, teach you everywhere that when it says palm, it means the left palm.
What?
Sure.
There
you go. Charles, I think you're unmuted.
You're right.
I don't want to hear all your secrets. Ve'ema. Says Mar, okay. 4 times it mentions the left hand in that section. Arba smolis ksiv. Trey ba'ani v'trey ba'asher. So it mentions it 4 times. 1 to tell you the left hand. Then it mentions it a 2nd time. The 3rd time tells you don't include the right hand. And the 4th time tells you that in general, it's only left over there, but in general, it means right. Okay, so back to our section when it says that you put it on the palm of the hand, so that's referring to the right hand. So if you do it with the left, it's going to be invalid, and so too kmitza will be invalid if done with the left hand. Amr le Rabbi Yirmiyah le Rabbi Zera. It says by the Mitzorah again in the 14th chapter of Vayikra, Al bohin yado hayiminis, val bohin raglo hayiminis. You're going to put the oil on the big thumb and on the big toe. So why does it say al bohin hayiminis, val bohin raglo hayiminis? Dichsiv lamali. Now, here there's another verse that says that you're going to put the oil al dam ha-asham. You're going to put it the same place you put the blood of the asham. You're going to put the oil. And I know that means the right hand, because it already told me by the asham that it's referring to that it's going to be on the right hand. So in that section, so in the 14th chapter, in the 14th verse, so it talks about putting the oil where you put the blood of the asham, and it says that the blood of the asham is put on the right finger and on the right. So why does it mention, when it talks about the oil, the right? Al boin yado yaminis, al boin yado raglo yaminis, dichsiv lamali. Next page. So we know that already. So it says, you're right. Chad lahakshir tzadin, the chad lifsol sidei tzadin. Sounds like when you pour the oil on the thumb, so you have a little leeway. You can put a little bit on the sides too, that's valid. But when you put on the sides of the sides, I think the sides of the sides is actually under the thumb. That's going to be invalid. So it's coming to teach you that idea, that one you put on the, one extra one tells you that you can put it on the tzadin. But on the tzadin, on the sides of the sides, which means the bottom of the thumb, then it's going to be invalid. Okay, so now this verse says, al dam ha'asham, al makom dam ha'asham lemai asu. So you have another verse telling you, this is now in the 17th verse. So the 14th verse in that chapter told us you put the oil where you put the blood. And we have here that you put it on the right hand already, our verse. And then it says it again, you put it where you put the blood of the asham. So we know that already. So why do you have to have another verse to teach me that you put it on the right? Meaning, we have a verse telling you that you put the blood of the asham on the right. Then you have verses telling you on the right hand, on the right finger, and on the right thumb and the right big toe. Then you have another verse telling you, put it in the same place that you put the asham. So what is that for? So we say, Hani tzrichi, that's necessary. We need both of these verses to teach you that oil will go on the right. Why? Because of Rahmana al dama asham havamina isein niskanik lo. If it just said you put it on the blood of the asham, you would take it literally and you would say, if the blood is still there, I'll put the oil on the blood. But if the blood has been removed, it's been cleaned off already, then I cannot put the oil on the blood. So Kasar Rahmana, Havina Isay in the Skanek Lo, so Kasar Rahmana al Makom. That's why it says you put it on the place of the right. To tell you that that even if the blood is not there, you put it on the place where the blood was placed. And if you go the other way, one verse is by the poor Mitzorah. It's the 28th verse of the 14th chapter. And one is by the rich Mitzorah, is the 17th verse of the 14th chapter. So one says you put it on the makom of the dam, and one says you put it on the dam. So if you just had on the dam, you would think that the blood has to be there, and then you put the oil on top. That's why it says on the place of the blood. Even if the blood is not there, you can still put it there. Because Rahman al makom, if it said only on the place, hava mina dafka niskanech, you would think that on the place, but it can't actually be on the blood itself. If you had the blood there and you put the oil on top of the blood on your finger, you would think it's an interposition. You would think it's a chatzitza. Kamash malon al dam ha'asham. To tell you al dam ha'asham is even if you put it on the blood itself, the blood is not an interposition. It's not a chatzitza, and it's going to be valid. Okay. Continue with the Mitzorah discussions. It says you put the oil on the blood of the asham, and you put on the place of the blood of the asham. And it says that it says that you put it on the right. We'll see the al yaminis b'dam, that you put the blood on the right. And it says alboin yado hayaminis and alboin raglo hayaminis. And it says you put on the right finger and the right big toe, on the right thumb and the right big toe. Oh, ksivi b'shemen dimitzora, ashir va'ani lamali. So once you have all of this, so according to Rava, why does it say that you should put the oil of the usher, of the rich person, and the poor and the poor mitzora? Why should you put it? Why does it specify that you put it on the right? We know they're ready from other places. Yeah. So Rava says it's extra. Ella Amar Rava, it's here coming to teach you something else. It's not coming to teach you it's not going to teach you that it mentions the right hand over here and only the left hand over here. Whatever else it mentions right. 1 second. Yeah, because if it was like our previous exposition that we know already that anywhere it says kaf, it's referring to the right. So Rav is bothered by. So how come over here it keeps repeating itself that you put on the right? You should know that already from other places. So to that, Rava says you need it for something else. Elamar Rava, you need these verses by the rich and the poor mitzvah to teach you yad yad lekmitza, regel lechalitza, ozen l'ritzia. So Rava says that the reason why it says it over here is to teach you. I don't need it to teach me that it goes on the right. What's it teaching me? That we have a gzeira shava to kmitza. That kmitza has to be with the right. That's by why it says yad yad. It says that by the hand. Regel. It says that by the foot on the right. So why does it repeat itself over there? You would know already that whatever happens by the blood is going to happen to the oil, and it has to be on the right. So you don't tell me again, it has to be on the right. That's to teach you lichalitza, that you're going to use the right foot, the right shoe, the shoe of the right foot. Yeah. And then ozen liritzu, you put once again the blood on the right ear. Now we know that already. So why do you need it? To teach you that if the servant wants to stay forever, so you nail his ear. His ear, which ear? The right ear. Yeah. Okay. So now we're asking. It says by the rich mitzvah that the Kohen is going to pour it on the oil onto his left palm, and then he's going to dip his finger into there. So smolus lemai asam. So when it says that you put it on the left hand, so the pasuk says by the rich mitzvah, wealthy mitzvah, that he puts the oil on his left hand, and then he dips his finger into that oil, and then he sprinkles it 7 times. So why does it mention he does it on the left hand? That we also know already. Yeah, that it says there 4 times smaller. So we know already why that he has to be on the left hand. So why does it repeat itself? Rav Shisha Breder Idi lives so yamin the Kohen b'mitzora. It's specifically coming to teach you that the Kohen cannot use his right palm. Don't think that he could use it, but it's better to use your left palm. The right palm is invalid. Why would you think it's valid? Shalo tomar ma'amakom shalo nisraps the small, nisraps the yamin. So don't say that in a place where the left is not included, the right is included. The makom shenisraps the small. Aino dinch nisraps the yamin. So don't say that when you have in cases where the left is excluded. Like in our cases, we mentioned he's on the right finger and on the right toe. The left is excluded. So So in a place where the left is included, like pouring your oil on your left hand, you should include the right as well. In a place where the left is excluded, the right is included. Sounds like a political debate, no? So where the left is excluded, the right is included. Where the left is included, you would think you should for sure include the right, and therefore you could pour the oil on the right hand. To that we teach you that has to be smallest, only pouring oil on the left palm of the Kohen. Okay, the idach smallest, and the other time that it says smallest by the pour mitzorah, the yad v'regel yeminis, and putting it also by the pour mitzorah on the right hand and the right on the right thumb and the right big toe. What's that for? L'mai asa. What's that coming to teach you? The Chedetana de Rabbi Shmuel. It's coming to teach you what the Academy of Rabbi Shmuel taught. Kol parsha shenemar v'nishnes v'nishnes ela b'shul davar shenes chadish bo. Sometimes you have sections of the Torah that repeat themselves. So why do they repeat themselves? To teach you a specific detail, a specific novelty. So Rashi explains that it repeated the mitzorah offerings of the poor mitzorah to teach you that he can bring. It repeated the mitzorah procedure to teach you that a poor mitzorah can bring the korban olav yoreh, the variable offering. I mean, he can bring an offering. He can bring, I think, birds instead of animals. Even though it mentions a lot of the same details about the necessity of putting the oil on the right thumb and the right big toe, you're right. For that, it's unnecessary, but there's one novelty in the whole section of the poor mitzorah that he can bring different offerings because of his financial situation. And for that, it was taught. Okay. Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar B'Shimon Lakish, Kol Makom Shinamar Etzel V'Kahuna, Eino Ela Yamin. So, whenever you find in the Torah, it says the word finger and kahuna in one section, it's referring to the right finger. Because you would have thought Etzel V'Kahuna B'inon, you would have thought that you need both. The pasuk has to tell you both finger and kahuna to teach you that then you'll know that you need to use the right finger. Just like it mentions by the Kohen and the Chat, it says the Kohen took from the blood of the Chatas with his finger. So it says Kohen and finger. The Gamar mi mitzorah, the Chsiv, the Tavala Kohen as at Bo HaYeminis. So it says, you would also learn from the Parsha of Mitzorah where it says both. The Kohen should dip his finger. So Kohen and finger. There you'll know that you need the right. So one second. Yeah. So, and you learn from Mitzorah that when it says finger and Kohen, it means right, because there it says Kohen at Yeminis. So whenever it says Kohen and finger, you would know it means the right finger. Hare Kmitza below Ksivabe Ela Kahuna. It says only Kahuna. It doesn't say finger, only Kahuna. Vitnan comments with small puzzle. If you do Kmitza with the left hand, it's going to be puzzle. So says Rava, you're right. What it means is you don't need both. You don't need both. Rather, you need either one. O etzba, o kahuna. Either one. It says Abaye, that can't be. Amrle Abaye, hare holechas evarm lekevesh. When you're bringing limbs of the animal up the ramp, it says kahuna. It says kahuna. The Kohen's bringing everything, and on that it says Amar zu holechas evarm lekevesh. That's referring to bringing the limbs up the ramp. Vitnan, and it's taught haregel shel yamin the small. You're holding the right leg of the animal in your left hand. So you see, you're carrying it in the left hand, and there it only says kahuna. It doesn't say anything about Yeah, there it says kahuna, and yet it's okay to carry it in your left hand. So it says kahuna, only kahuna, and yet carrying it with your left is fine. So that's a rejection of Rava. So we say no. Ki amrina and o etzba o kahuna. When Rava said that when the Torah mentions the finger of the Kohen, or it says the word Kohen, it means the right. But that's only b'davar hama'akev kapara. That's only by something which is a necessity. That if you don't do it, it's going to prevent the service from taking place. But in a case like this, where you can carry it with your right or your left, that's not something which is ma'akev, which is a preventative. So there you could do it with your left as well. It's only something which is such a necessity. When it's a necessity, and there in the parsha it says either finger or kahuna, it's referring to the right. Yeah. On that says the Gemara, Hari Kabbalah Davar Hama'akiv Kaparahu, receiving of the blood is a Davar Hama'akiv Kapara. You have to do it. If not, you don't get atonement because of kahuna. And it says there kahuna diksiv, Ikiva b'nei Aaron hakohanim es adam zukabal sadam. That the b'nei Aaron brought the blood. It means that they received the blood. Vitnan kibel b'small apostle. And it says, if you receive it in the left, it's going to be invalid. Rabbi Shimon Makshir. Rabbi Shimon allows it. So it says kahuna. And yet he says it's okay to do it with your left. How could that be? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon Kamras. Rabbi Shimon Tartibai. Rabbi Shimon means both. He needs the pasuk to say both kahuna and etzba, both finger and kahuna, to teach you that it has to be with the right. If you only have kahuna, so then according to Rabbi Shimon, that's not enough to dictate to you that you'll need to use the right. Umi by Rabbi Shimon Tartis, Rabbi Shimon really hold that you need both. Rabbi Shimon Omer Kol Makom Shtamar Yad in El Yamin, etzba in El Yamin, etzba by kahuna and kahuna by etzba. So the Brisa says that Rabbi Shimon says, whenever it says yad, it's referring to yamin, it's referring to right. Etzba, whenever it says finger, it's referring to the right finger. So he says, so you don't need both. As long as it says yad or it says finger, it means the right. So on that we say, etzba lo ba'i kahuna. When it says finger, it's referring to the right. It does not need to mention Kohen in that same section. But kahuna ba'i etzba. But kahuna, when it says kahuna, there it does require to say also finger to teach you that it needs to be the right. If that's true, so then ella Kohen lamali. So why does it say Kohen over there if it does not need to be in the right? To teach you bikuhuno that he has to be wearing his priestly garments. Okay, so at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if it's something which is preventative, so then if it says finger or kahuna, then it's going to refer to the right. And according to Rabbi Shimon, it depends. If it says finger or hand, you don't need it to say kahuna. But if it says kahuna, then it needs finger. Then it does need finger or hand. Okay, turn the page. The hare zurika, the throwing, the sprinkling of the blood. The low kasav bay ela kahuna. It only says kahuna v'tnan zarpa small pasol. So the low polig Rabbi Shimon by zurika, the throwing of the blood, it only says kahuna. We say it's invalid, and Rabbi Shimon doesn't argue. According to him, it should be valid. So Amar Abba, so the low polig Rabbi Shimon, Amar Abba polig b'brisa. He does argue. He argues in the brisa. The Tanya keep up a small pulsar, Rabbi Shimon Makshir. Zarb a small pulsar, Rabbi Shimon Makshir. The brisa says that if you received it in your left hand, invalid. Rabbi Shimon says it's valid. You sprinkle with your left hand, invalid. Rabbi Shimon, valid. Okay. So now the Ella Had Amar Rava Yad L'Knitza Lamali Mikahuna Nafka. Why did Rava learn that Kmitza requires the right hand, and he used it and he had Xera Shava from Mitzora to Kmitza? Just learn it from here. Mikahuna Nafka. It says the Gemara, you're right, but I needed both. I needed to teach you Chad lekometz, the chad lekiddush kometz. One is the actually picking up of the flour, that's kometz, and one is that when you put it into the next vessel, it sanctifies it. Both of those need the right hand. So, chad lekon chad lekiddush kometz. Now, Rabbi Shimon, the lo bayi kiddush kometz. So, according to Rabbi Shimon, that we'll see later on, that he doesn't need the sanctification of the kometz. There's going to be a whole discussion later on. Ulamand Amar Nami the Bayi Kiddush kometz. 1 second. Yeah, okay. Rashi explains that later on there's going to be a machlokes what Rabbi Shimon holds. Either the Amoraim hold that Rabbi Shimon holds, you don't need the sanctification of a vessel to make the kmitza holy, to make it sanctified. That's one. Or everyone agrees that you do need it. It's just there's one case where he doesn't need it. That I'll have to see in 2 weeks. So either way you go in Reb Shimon. So Ulamandam are nami the Bayi Kiddush. So either Rabbi Shimon. 1 second. Rabbi Shimon the lo Bayi Kiddush comments. According to the opinions that hold that according to Rabbi Shimon, you don't need sanctification of the vessel. Ulamandam are nami the Bayi Kiddush comments. The Rabbi Shimon, but ubismol akshurei machshir, but you allowed to do with your left hand. So then yad the Rava Lamalu. So what do you do with this Rava's teaching of yad that you have to use the right hand? For Rabbi Shimon, you don't either you don't need a vessel at all, and then for sure it's extra, because we just said that yad was coming to teach you that you have to put the kometz into a vessel and sanctify it with your right hand. Well, according to Rabbi Shimon, either you don't need a vessel to sanctify it, or even if you do, you can use your left hand. So what's yad doing according to Rava? So ila kmitza gufa aliba de Reb Shimon. So maybe he'll tell me you need it for the kmitza itself according to Reb Shimon, and needs to do with the right hand. So that we say that you're going to learn from Reb Chia Brei You'll learn that out from Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Reb Chia. My time, Reb Shimon, it says, the pasuk says by the mincha that it's going to be kodesh kedushim. It's going to be the flour offering is going to be a very holy offering, like a chatas, like an asham. So what does that mean? So bala ovda biyad ovda biyamin. If you're coming to do the kmitza, so do it with your right hand. Kichatas, like a chatas. Bala ovda bikli. If you're coming to do it with a vessel, so ovda bismol ki asham. You could do it with your left like an asham. So yeah. So meaning, if you're not using a vessel, you're not sanctifying the kometz in a vessel. You're just holding it and carrying it. So that's going to be with your right hand. If you do put it into a vessel, so then you can do that with your left hand. Just like an asham mitzora, it says left over there, you can do with your left hand over here. So then what do you need yad for? Lo nitzcha ela lekometz de minchas choteh. I need it for a special teaching of the sin offering, the flour sin offering. That what? You would have thought, since or that we learned a few days ago said that a sinner's offering should not be beautiful. So if you come and say nami b'smol, it's kasher. Even when he does with his left hand, it's less beautiful. It should still be good. Kamash on that note. That had that the original even for the choteh, original scooping is done with the right. Okay. Kamatz va'ala biyado tzror o gargar melach o koret levona pasal. So the Mishnah gave three cases of where your kmitza is lacking. Either a little pebble is in the palm of your hand, in your fist, or a gargar melech, or a piece of salt, a gradual, a what? Grain. A grain of salt, or a korat levana. That's a gradual, a particle of the frankincense. So all of those three, if either one of those, when you scoop up the flour, is in your palm, that is invalid. Says tomorrow, what do you need all three for? We got the point. Anything that's not flour in your hands, it's lacking because it's taking up space. And you have to have a full palm. So if you don't have a full palm because something's taking up space, it's going to be invalid. Why'd you speak out three examples of that? Kol hani lamali. So it's necessary. Why? Tzricha. A rock that's never fit for service. You never bring up rocks to the temple. Aval melach, but salt we do sometimes. We bring salt with sacrifices. Debasa kravahi, aim with diskasha. You would think that it's not totally separate from the flour. It would also be, since it's fitting to bring, that it would be valid. But for this mincha, we don't put salt with this mincha. You have salt in other areas. We're going to find out later that after you do the kmitza already, afterwards you're going to put salt. But originally, you have salt and oil and flour. So, originally you don't have salt. Salt comes later. So therefore, itan melach lo ikbe b'hadei mincha mi'ikara. You would have thought that it's not there with the original mincha. Aval levona you do have. You have the oil, the frankincense, and the flour. The ikbe b'hadei mincha mi'ikara emet kasher kamash malon. So you would have thought that maybe that's going to be good if you have frankincense. That's with your flour. That's part of the offering, so that would be fine. So it comes to teach you all three of these things are not going to be good. I'm just thinking now, you could have just taught frankincense is not good, and then you would know the other two. No? If it taught frankincense, which originally is brought with the offering, and yet it's still no good, for sure salt, which is brought later, and a rock, which is never brought, for sure is going to be invalid. Why'd you teach those two? Just teach frankincense, and then you should be good. I don't know. Food for thought. No?
Is specific to that.
Right, but I'm saying in this logic, it becomes the biggest novelty. Even something which originally is brought with, so according to this logic, if it's the biggest novelty, you just teach the biggest Kiddush, and then the other two are knocked out. You're saying if it only taught frankincense, then I don't know what you're saying.
Because you bring it at the wrong time.
You have your frankincense. You're going to bring that.
Yeah, but later.
But one of the particles of frankincense came into your hand, not the one you're going to bring. I don't know. It ended up there somehow. Stop. It ended up there. You're going to bring the frankincense when you bring it, and that has its requisite amount. In the setup process, one little particle fell into the flour, and at this point, when you scoot up, you found it in your hand. Something like that. Okay, I don't know. Food for... Yeah? Doesn't answer. It's like a real Tosis kind of question, but I don't see it.
Rabbi, I just got lost. I was out of the room for a minute. Where are we?
We finished. No. We're 6 lines down on 11a. I have a 2. English, it's note 5. I don't know. Maybe we'll see now. Classic Tosis kind of question. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Probably. Okay. Either way, so continues the. Oh, we're flying these last 2 days, yeah. So my area. So it says the reason why this is not good because it says like homus achasar or yes or bustle. When you do kmitza, if you have too much or too little, it's going to be invalid. So in our case, it's too little because the rock or the salt or the frankincense is taking up space in your hand. Okay, so now. My area, Mishum. Yeah.
Because you could argue that because it's part of the offering, it's not taking up space.
Because it's part of the offering.
It's not taking up space from the flowers.
So let's say you would have only taught the frankincense and you'd say it's invalid. Right? The Mishnah says it is invalid because it is taking up space. Let's say you just taught that. You didn't teach salt or stone. You would know that even if frankincense, which is part of the sacrifice, still it takes up space, for sure salt. So, my area mishum chaser v'yaser. So one sec. Why is the explanation of the Mishnah of these things? Maybe this will help us. Why is the explanation of the Mishnah that it's lacking? I have a much simpler explanation. It's a chatzitza. It has to be all in your palm. If there's a stone there, or salt, or frankincense, that's going to be a chatzitza. So, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah minatzad. Okay, but if it's to the side, then it's not taking. Then it's not going to be a chatzitza, but it's still going to be lacking because it's taking up space. So now, Amar Abai LeRava Ketzad Komtzen. So how do they do kmitza? So he says, "What do you mean? Amar like it comes inches, like people do kmitza." What's the question? Meaning you do a fistful. Right now, it doesn't mention anything about the three fingers. It just sounds like we're saying kid comes inchi. You use all your fingers. The same way you scoop something up with your hand. So you put your hand in, and you take it out, like the claw at the arcade, right? So there it always gets nothing. They use all the fingers. Yeah. So Esvei, on that we use all the fingers, so we're gonna have a problem. Why? It says is it a verse? No, the verse is, it says Zu Zeres, Zu Kmitza, Zu Ama, Zu Etzba, Zu Godel. So what's this? All these zoos that are referring to different things. What? Oh. So zoo is referring to Zeres. That's the pinky. Zoo, kmitza, the fourth finger, the ring finger, not the ring finger, what's it called? The fourth finger. What's the finger called in English? The forefinger, the fourth finger. Either way, yeah, the finger next to the pinky. So zu kmitza, that's when you do kmitza with. Zu ama, the middle finger is where you measure an ama, right, from the elbow down to the end of the middle finger. Then you have the index finger, zu etzba, and that's to teach you that the one that the Kohen dips his finger in, into the blood for the sprinkling, and then zu godel. And then you have the thumb, which is by the mitzorah. Yeah. What do you see from the brisa? That it goes to the five fingers, and the forefinger is the kmitza. So you don't use all your fingers like Rava said. Rava said, like, people scoop things up. It's not true. The brisa said that you start from your fourth finger. So yeah. So now, so we say Ella lehashvos. That what it means is, what Rava meant was, you do scoop it up with that forefinger. However, so use the middle three fingers. However, if any kmitza is this works exactly, but is below, you wipe it off with your pinky, and if it's above, you wipe it off with your thumb. So it evens it out. I don't know how this. Which part's on the bottom with the pinky? Okay, the thumb on the top, I get it's on top over here. You wipe it off. I guess the pinky reaches the bottom of your hand, so it wipes off the extra parts. The bottom of the hand means like the end of the hand, not the bottom of your wrist, I guess, over here. So it wipes the part at the end off to even it out. So the thumb and the pinky will even it out. So heichi avid, Amarav Zutra Bartugi, Amarav Chupa Shalosh Etzpois Achemegi Al Pasiado. The three middle fingers go until the palm of your hand. The komets, and then you do kmitza. Okay, let's stop here. Yeah, let's start with this brisa.